swelling up her tummy, her eyes started being big, her head. So I started seeing those kind of symptoms, learn how to wash my hands, learn how to operate the machine, exactly how the doctors do it. Back to square one, Amahle, atlhakatlhakana, Amahle now, ba re ke eng, dialysis ya gage ya gae ha e sa mmerekela.
Let me introduce to you the new kid on the block. Mellavi is a new skincare range that recently launched. It is for face and for body. We deal with hyperpigmentation, anti-aging, wrinkles, natural glow. We also deal with dark inner areas. We target dark inner thighs, dark armpits, dark neck, dark elbows, dark knees, you name it. We also have a shaving combo. This shaving combo deals with ingrowns and shaving bumps. Both men and women can use this good quality product shaving range. We've got good actives in our product from glycolic acid, hyaluronic acid, kojic acid, and many more. You can contact us on the WhatsApp number that is popping on the screen, or you can reach out to us on all our social media platforms. We are here for all your skin needs. Hi, everybody. Welcome to O Narrative Podcast by myself, Promise Magunyane. This podcast, it's about marriage and family dynamics. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, you need to write to us on the email address that is popping on the screen. Do not forget to put your number, preferably your WhatsApp number, so that we can contact you once we vet your story. Guys, we do have a sister podcast on the very same channel. It's called The Working Wife, The Working Woman Podcast. That particular podcast is really about women working, women inspiring each other to do it for themselves. I always say it is good to have a man do stuff for you, but it's much more better if you can also do stuff for yourself. So that particular podcast about women and wives working, it airs on Sundays at 6 p.m. And this one that you are watching, it airs every Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And today's another installment with an amazing guest, Sibongile. Are you Zulu, Ndebele?
No, I'm Zulu, but ke bolela Setswana.
Yes, because ke a bona o ka re o bolela Setswana, but then Sibongile, why Muzulu bolela Setswana?
No, my family is from KZN, but I grew up hona mo Ga-Rankuwa.
Ah.
So yeah.
How long have you been there for? Your whole life?
Yeah, I think my whole life. Yeah.
So your mom, your dad, or whoever that you were staying with, they were staying full-time in Rankuwa?
Yeah, my mom is from Ga-Rankuwa, even my dad were from here. But the extended family is from KZN.
Anyway, Sibo, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. My assistant told me about your story, and I don't know how you still, you look so brave, Where do you draw your strength from?
I can't say where I draw my strength from, but I think being a mom, basically being a mom, it's something that made me stronger.
Yeah.
What I've been through, me and my daughter, it's something that I got the strength to be strong. Yeah.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your upbringing. I know you grew up Ga-Rankuwa, you're Sibongile, Zulu, but speaking, yeah, tell me about your upbringing.
Okay, so basically, as I said, I'm from Ga-Rankuwa. I'm 28. A young. I don't know if I can say I used to be a young mom or I'm still a mom. So yeah, my story is I'm a young mom that was having a sick child, a child that had a kidney disease. So basically, as a mom, I've had many difficulties, Ke tla ke le mme o godisang ngwana in a manner ya gore, we used to stay in hospitals, coming in and out of hospitals, seeking help for the child. It's not easy, especially being so young and then using a public hospital in order for you gore ngwana abe sharp,
Okay, before we get to almost the middle of the story, which is your story, let's take it back to your pregnancy. When did you fall pregnant? How did you feel about the pregnancy, baby daddy, relationship? Tell me about your pregnancy.
Okay, my pregnancy nearly sharp, or I don't remember having difficulties through my pregnancy. I had a wonderful pregnancy, a baby shower, being a new mom. It was all great, up until when my baby was born. I was in a relationship. My relationship didn't even have, those kind of difficult matters. I was a happy mom having my child was nagodisa ke mme le ntate ba itu,
You and your partner.
yeah, me and my partner. So pregnancy yaka e tla e le sharp up until I delivered a child.
Yeah.
I delivered a child in George Mokari in Garankuwa.
What year is that?
It was 2019.
And how
Yeah.
old were you?
I was 22 at that time, yeah. 2019, got George Mokari. And then my child, she didn't even have any problems up until her 1 year. Up until her 1 year. I think I started seeing difficulties on her. She didn't grow like normal kids grew, her weight, her size, She started having those symptoms, but that time I didn't know what it was up until I took her to the clinic. That's when that time at the clinic they didn't see a problem. Said maybe change a formula for her. It might be a formula,
What was she doing?
like
what
her,
was
her tummy started growing, like swelling up her tummy, her eyes started being big, her head. So I started seeing those kind of symptoms, but at the clinic that time they didn't see a problem with her. They was just said, she was a beautiful child, by the way. So she had a big body. So at that clinic that time they just said, no, maybe it's a formula, because she didn't seem sick, but I think for a mother instinct, I was like, no man, there's something has to be wrong with this child, until I took her to a private doctor. And then that's when the doctor said, no, maybe the child might have that time the doctor said the child might have not a kidney, a liver, because her tummy was swollen. So we were transferred to Mamelodi Hospital that time, because that time I was living in Cullinan.
Okay.
I was working that side, schooling in Cullinan that time. So I took her to Mamelodi Hospital. Yeah. From Mamelodi Hospital, that's when our journey began.
Sure.
Yeah. So from there, that's when Amahle, my daughter, was introduced to these kind of tests, like different tests, biopsies, she...
Let's just backtrack a bit. So, as you are busy taking her to the hospitals, and how is her health? Is she still just a bubbly baby who's just swelling tummy, swelling the head?
Yeah, she's still a bubbly child, She can play like other kids. It's just that she was slow in running around. Yeah, the development were not like normal kids were. But otherwise, she didn't, like facially, when you see her, she was a beautiful child. You wouldn't even notice that she's sick, Yeah. That's when they did all these kind of tests to her. And then that's when they told me that Amahle might have a kidney disease. Yeah. Then it started there.
Tell me about the day where you got to the results and then they interpreted the results to you. How did you feel about that?
It was so painful, It was so painful because she was my first child, I don't have any other kids. She was my first child. And then that time, you can imagine when they tell you your child has a kidney disease. By that time, I don't even have a knowledge of a kidney disease, but I just know that it's a strong word for a child to have, I was like, kidney. And then that time I was confused because I delivered my child healthy, so she didn't even have, on my pregnancy it went well. I didn't even have any difficulties with her. So that time, I'm confused, and I'm young, you can imagine, So that time it was painful for me. It was painful. So, that time they explained to me, because I asked questions.
Yeah.
I was like, how can a small child like her, looking so healthy, have this kind of a big word of a kidney disease? that's when they told me like that from my side or the father's side, she might have inherited some gene that might cause her to have that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to ask you, but I think you answered it, Jorge. When somebody says your child has a kidney disease, like, what is that? You're just thinking that, is my child gonna die? Did you think she was gonna die then?
Yeah, because first of all, I'm from a township. We are not used of those kind of things,
Yeah.
And by that time, on my family, I never grew in a family of someone having that kind of a disease. No one had that kind of a disease. Or although at the hospital they told me that she might have inherited it, like in our genes we might have that. But on her father's side, I don't think I asked. No one had it. On my side, my family, no one had that gene. So, it was so confusing, That time I'm thinking, my child might die any time of this sickness, Those were the kind of things that I was thinking of that time.
Yeah. So what do you do then? Now they break the news to you. Your child has got a problem with their kidney.
That time by that time they introduced her to medication that time. Because I think because a human is born with two kidneys. So I believe from that time maybe one kidney had died and then maybe the other one had maybe a little chance of surviving kidney. So she lived with that one kidney. So from that time they introduced her to medication. Then she continued with the medication, and then I think from that time I wanted to accept it, because it was easy. It was just the medication and going for checkups that time, up until I think for at least 3 months she was doing well. But I think the other kidney just died just like that. That was when Amahle started, behaving somehow. She was like, when you speak to her, she couldn't respond. She was being weak. At some point I thought maybe she's losing her mind, because I saw her a different side of her, because she was a bubbly child, a playing child, So that time I was like, Amahle is starting to behave somehow. When I talk to her, it's like she's losing her mind. She can't hear you, And then now her body is changing, even her color. She started to change her color. That's when I rushed to hospital. Then I was like, what's going on? The child is on medication now. Then now I don't even know what's going on with her. That's when they told me her other kidney had died.
Which is 3 months after you guys have diagnosed her with.
Yeah, that was 3 months after. Then they said all her kidneys now had just died like that. So she'd no longer have a working kidney.
What kind of medication did they put her on?
I think it was a kidney medication.
Yeah,
nearly the pilisi tse di rang gore kidney ya gage e kgone go, I think maybe increase something in a kidney, because I get kidney ya gage a one, I think it collapses, so it booster the immune tsa gage di eng. Yeah, I think.
How old was she?
That time she was 2 years. Yeah, that time she was 2 years. And then now we had to go into another step now. So now by that time, that time now, because now the medication didn't work, so now she had to be introduced to dialysis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when Amahle was introduced to dialysis, And then we stayed weeks, months in hospital. That time we were in Steve Biko. So we stayed in Steve Biko.
So do you stay with her there?
Yeah, because she was young, I had to stay with her at hospital there. There was a side where mothers live, go Steve Biko, and then every morning you have to monitor your child there. And then now I have ke learned machine, like dialysis machine, dialyze. Because that time I have mo dialyzer in myself. So at the hospital, ba go teacher go monitor a machine wa gage.
Is that allowed, or there should be a nurse there every single time?
The nurse it goes petlele, but then when you have to learn at hospital so that when you go home, yeah, so you go home, you dialyze her yourself. That's it. So yeah, that was our journey. I landed there. I stayed at the hospital.
How long did you stay at the hospital for?
I think it was about 3 weeks or so. 3 weeks or so. So more 3 weeks in a chance o learn or you know the procedure like I think kanako ke bile doctor ya ngwanaka, you know, learn how to wash my hands, you know, learn how to operate the machine, exactly how the doctors do it. I was doing that.
How was the stay in the hospital? What happens when you stay in the hospital?
You know, I think, but because Steve Biko is a good hospital, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I won't lie, it wasn't that bad. You know, we had site ya rona ya bo mme mo re robalang teng, you know, we slept comfortably there.
They give you food.
The food was nice. Yeah, the food was nice. I don't even know how to lie. The food was
shout
nice.
out to Steve Biko.
Yeah, Steve Biko took really good care of us, you know. Yeah. And somehow, you know, I enjoyed being there. It started being part of my life. Like it was my home, you know. And then I was introduced to these mothers, like old mothers.
I wanted to say, tell us about the women in that ward, Yarao, or in the room, Yarao.
The mothers were great.
Their kids, what are they? Are they all suffering from the same thing?
Yeah. More nanikeleng thing, it was kids, baba naling kidney problems, you know. Yeah, no, you know, those mothers were great mothers, you know. Because first time, any info, but I was so depressed, you know, thinking, what am I gonna do? You know, I remember I meet this other mother, Ankirang strong, you know. I think this disease before mine. So, you know, I used always to cry, like all these mothers like there are small meetings at night. Now just be aside from them. And they're like, Peter, come here, don't sit alone there. You know, I remember that mother telling me, you know, and if you're gonna keep on crying like that, no, you won't make your child stronger. So you have to and create a life here, because this is a journey that we're gonna go through, all of us. And from that moment, I was like, you know, I'm not alone, you know, because imagine it's the first time hearing about the kidneys and kids. It's the first time staying at the
yourself.
Yeah, it's the first time being in a hospital, and now you're watching all these kind of kids, because those kids, they don't react the same. There are others having big tummies. There are others that are skinny. You know, like it's horrible to watch kids on that state. You know,
suffering.
so. That time, Amahle is not like them. Like she's in a better state, but I can see where she's going to be like, you know. So I'm traumatized at that time. I'm like, yo, she's gonna be like that. But you know, those mothers, we were always there for each other. Like we hold hands, prayed together, and that was our journey.
Yeah, beautiful. I always, because that alone is just the community of other women, other moms, you know. So I just wanted to be privy of the conversations and the kind of things that you guys were talking about. But anyway, thank you for sharing. So that's Steve Biko. The child is getting better, or what is happening?
That time the child is getting better. She's getting better. That time they took her to the ICU to put her those pipes. You know, and Amahle, remember, like Amahle was a bright child, you know. So she was a beautiful. That's why, like, she was so beautiful. That's why her name is Amahle. You know, her name was Amahle Shannon, meaning beautiful, wise river. So that time she was so brave and so beautiful, you know. So she liked beautiful things, like Amahle narata dilo tse pila. So you can imagine gore ngwana o mo yalo we see the ICU, and now when she wakes up to herself being changed, the analytic pipes and stuff. I remember the first thing when she woke up was like, Mama, come see, I have something like a plug on my chest. I was like, a plug? Baby. That was the first word she said when she woke up. And I was like, you know, kids, go. I'm like, I'm her mom. I don't even have that courage. She was so strong. And look. But instead, nale happy and excited gore o na le something different na that time ke utlwa botlhoko gore ngwana ka o na le that something more different but you know Amahle was something Amahle was something else. I don't even want to lie, you know. So that was a journey. She was she had those pipes there. The nurses started gore ban route go connect the machines go mo dialyzer. There was a manual, like manually it was like wena wa ithuta ka matsoa gago go mo dialyzer, and there were also machines. You know, machines there ba go ruta, because that time you remember we were suffering from load shedding. You know, so they had to gore ba go ruta two ways, the machine one and the manual one. So yeah,
manual, how do you do?
Manually you do it with your hands, like they give you the packs, it's a dialysis like a metsi ale a di pack, and then there's these other things, it's a thing o dirang ka matso a gago, like you connect gore ngwana a khone, is like those things di play as a kidney ya gaga ke re di kidney tsa gage now a di sa bereka. So it plays as the kidneys. So wa mo connecta di ntsha metsi di kenya metsi ka mogare, so a khone go di mo cleaner ka mogare, so it's like the kidneys.
Oh wow. So you learned all that.
I learned all that.
And when do you guys go home?
We went home after that 3 to 4 weeks. We went home. And now I know how to operate those machines. We go home, and then that time we start normal. But it was not normal. It was not easy. I don't wanna lie, because that time I have Jorge dialyzing one every after 3 hours.
No.
You can understand, if you start at 6 o'clock, it's like 6, 7, 8, 9, you start again. 10, 11, 12, 1, you start again. So there's no way you can go. I had to quit my job. I had to quit my school so that Amahle, you know, I couldn't even go to the malls, because you can imagine, you go to the malls, you spend hours there, you have to go home, dialyze a child, and then no one at my home. You remember, used to those kind of things. It's this first experience. So I'm the only one who can dialyze ngwana. Not even my mom knows how to do it. So I have 24/7 so after these certain hours dialyze. That time is winter. So it's load shedding. You have to connect ngwana ka metsi ale a go tonya. You know, it's cold. Metsi ale tshwantse a kene ka mogare and wait certain hours gore metsi ale a tswe. So I went through all those things. Even my relationship with my baby daddy that time, Gaisa exist now, you know, I'm left with a child, I have to go through all those processes alone, you know, at home. You know, but as a mother, I think as a mother, you know, it's our children, like bana ba rona. And then without fathers or with fathers, we are the ones to take a stand.
Sure. So this dialysis, it happens, so it's a lifetime thing. That means every 3 hours you will have to do that.
Yeah, it's a lifetime. That's why you have to quit your job, because you can't be working.
And what are you going to eat as well? Like, what's going to sustain? If you don't have a family like you have, right? And then you are there alone, you've got a child, and then what's going to happen actually?
No, that's why there's this the grants tsa bana ba ba yalo, like chronic kids, ba funda di grants tsa bona. So you have to leave ka di grants tseo, because
did you apply for the grant?
Yeah, I did. I did, and then Leona ne thusa, I don't want to lie. Ne thusa, because now awe merokong, you can't do anything. O na le ngwana so 24/7. Even ngwana khono go ya crash that time, because go crash o tlo ba infected, o tlo irang. So ke ngwana o mo sensitive, o tshwantse a be le wena 24/7. So yeah, even that grant they be thusa. Yeah. Even the father.
Na supportanya.
Yeah, na supportanya.
Nalatlhela something.
Yeah,
Is
na
right.
latlhela something. Yona bo go se easy, sister. I don't wanna lie. No go se easy, you know. Imagine gore papa ngwana le nna gare we're no longer together now. And that time, ke kry-ile motho o montšha, no, and I'm scared to even, you know, ka nako e yalo, you know, the sickness tse dingwe tse di sharpo when you are married, you know, when it's a wife and a husband, like re tshwarana matsogo in that but go sa nyala di sickness tsa o tshwana le tsa bana ba ba yalo, it's so difficult, especially ho le single. And that time I'm young, and now I gave up all my life for ngwana, and now ne ke sa tepone le nna that time ne ke sa tepone ke kry-a motho, because who'd love you in that state, because ga ona nako, you don't even have time for boyfriend ya gago, you don't even have time for yourself to go to the malls, o te kutlwele, you don't even have that kind of time. But you know, I found like I found this wonderful man, all name Papa Amahle. Like I don't even know if we get to meet a stepfather, but he wasn't a stepfather. He was a father. Like he was a father to Amahle. He was there with us. You know, I remember someday ke tshaba go mmotsa gore, you know, ke na le ngwana o lwalang, you know. So I had gore each and every after 3 hours ge ke fetse go dialyze Amahle and escape at home gore ke tsamaye ko mmona, you know, so certain out. But one day I remember I'm potsa gore, no man, when every time you come monna 30 minutes and then after 30 minutes you run away, and gore ke ba mo lebelong, what's happening with you? And then that time I was like, okay, now I have to be honest with him, and then ka monnisa fatshe and be like, you know what, ke na le ngwana o mo so le so, ngwana ka o na le this kind of disease. So that's why every time I ke na nako for wena, I'd rather see you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes yona e. And you know, that guy was like, you know, na nako gabo that time. That guy was like, you know, come with your child. When you want to see me, come with the child. I'm like, my child, I have to dialyze. And he was like, you can dialyze your child in my home. You know, I was like, your parents, what are going to say? Because no one is used to this kind of sickness. Like, no, ke tlo botsa mama ka gore, and I went there with my child. Ka nako e so ke mo dialyza ko yena, ka nako tshwantseng ke ya gae, ke tsamaya le equipment ya gage ke ya gae, and he was there for me, you know, he was so there for me.
Are you guys still together?
Yeah, even today.
Shout out to you, stepfather, for stepping up. Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Then you continue dialysis. How long do you now do that for?
I did that for almost 9 months.
Oh my God.
And then now we're used to that, you know. I'm in a happy relationship with a child. We are used to that. Even a boyfriend, they know about my child, you know. And it was a coincidence because my child was Amahle, and then my boyfriend's son, he doesn't have a child.
Okay.
So his sibling, nearly Amantle. So it was Amahle and Amantle. So
name.
yeah. So I used to take Amahle to that house, and
You were like, we are meant to be.
yeah, you know, those kind of things. So now I'm like, okay, now my child has a friend. Now, you know, I'm comfortable. I'm living my life. It's nice, you know. Up until Amahle now started again, you know, back to square one. Amahle atlhaka-tlhakana, you know, Amahle now dialysis ya gage ya gae ha e sa mmerekela. Now o na le infection, because dilo tse balo we are warned about them go hospital, because you can't be 100% germ free. You know, we live in small houses, le batho, and now the germs are everywhere. So Amahle had an infection now. Took her back to hospital.
So wait, did they put a hole on her or what?
Yeah, you know, they put, like, Amahle had different holes. I think by that time she had like 6 holes, you know, because le dialysis ya gage, remember o sa le young. And then le dialysis ya gage, sometimes hole e ba e editseng mo, it blocks sometimes, you know, tshwantse ba ntshe to go to theater now, put another somewhere else, you know. So on her stomach, you could see as if like a child had been gunned somewhere, you know, he had different holes there. Yeah. So I think that that operation, it was 6 operations before it can fail. It was a 6th one. So for a 6th one, it failed the avali infection, and now had to take her back to hospital. That's when at the hospital said, no, this dialysis for her at home does not work for her now. Now she had to be introduced to a dialysis called hemodialysis.
Okay.
Now it deals with blood now. It goes straight to the blood. Remember, ela neki yetsa ko ntlong, it was water and, it could connect and stuff. So, anong a different one, and it's a last stage one. So hopefully, like hemodialysis now, it's like, the end. Yeah, the end now. Ga go sana any other solution, Amahle was introduced to that. That's when now I'm from Garankuwa.
Yeah.
So now I have gore ngwana ko Garankuwa at George Mokari. Now at George Mokari, they don't have dialysis for kids. It's only dialysis for older people. Ha ba ire dialysis ya bana. Now ngwana tshwantse a tloge every day ko spetlele ke mo ise spetlele every day in the morning, 3 times in a week, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You have gore o ise ngwana spetlele. But at least they gave us transport there. We're like, Rea spetlele getting transport to go Johannesburg every 3 days in a week. And she was admitted go Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. Yeah, that's when I read dialysis ya gage ko teng. Then I think her whole life we always spendile gona go Charlotte Maxeke. Yeah, we were there.
I'm just thinking about your own life.
It's like I don't even have a life.
Yes.
I didn't even have a life, I didn't even, but I think because that time I have a partner that, because my partner was always there. Remember my partner, Hana le ngwana, but ngwana wa ka was ngwana wa gage. So everything e ke yang through yona, le ena o ya through yona. Now ke movile out to gae, we live together now, le ngwana. Yeah, and every morning he has to take us to hospital and I am merokong drop us there. Na ke spetlele, spend my whole day go spetlele ke metse ngwana up until ke ha ba fetsa ke tshwantse ke boe gape. Every 3 times in the week, you can imagine.
Sure. And this guy was taking care of you guys.
Oh, like his own child, his own child, I don't even know. It's he blessed me with that guy, I can't say, even if it was like, if you didn't know, it was like his biological father, because that time Amahle's father and I were fighting, you know those kind of issues, were fighting, and le get depressed by that time, o batla tšhelete ya ngwana, because having a child like that is not easy. It's like
you also need a lot of money.
Yeah, you need attention because of mentally, you get tired. You can imagine latella papa ngwana waiting. My boyfriend ended up saying, you know what? You rather stop that fight because of I'm here. I can do dilo tseo. I'm like, wena ga ona le ngwana, so I can't take all that burden give wena e otlhe. Like, no, I'm gonna take care of this child as my own. And he did that. He did that. He made my life more easy.
And also emotionally, you just know there's somebody that is just taking care of my emotions.
Yeah. Someone, you just need someone that can love you, au feel se gore, because mo tseleng e you nako o feel like the world has turned mo wena. You can't think of yourself, lo wena go tetebella o te pona o se tlhole o le nice, ga ona nako ya go ba nice, ga ona nako ya, because I'm young that time. Imagine 22, 23, I've got friends. I used to live that life ya gore nako nngwe I go out, go partying sometimes, but now I had to end that life. I guess fita in because now I can it's either hospital, home, a child, hospital, home, no other things. But being with the person, I bontshang lerato, a kgonang go ba sensitive to wena, I'll remind her you are beautiful, you are a mother, you are a wonderful mother. It counts a lot.
Yeah. And how long do you guys do the trips to Charlotte Maxeke?
We did those trips almost our whole lives. Sure. 3 times in a week. It doesn't matter. It's holidays. It doesn't matter. It's public holidays, New Year's Eve. If it's that time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we go.
How long should you go to Rankuwa and not how long? What time should you be Rankuwa and what time does the transport leave for Charlotte Majek?
We have to be at hospital by 7 o'clock.
AM.
Yes. 7 o'clock every day, be at hospital. Then, and sometimes a whole look waiting for a child. It's many kids. So once and that time it's different because it was two kids. It was Amahle and there was the other boy called Rorisang. That one was dialyzing at Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was such a wonderful hospital.
Oh, children's hospital.
Children's hospital, yeah. But so they go hand in hand. It's like special SSC1. So now we have to wait for Rorisang and now wait for Amahle that side. They all feditse pele. Nako ngo Rorisang o fetsa ka pele and you have to wait for Amahle hours and hours. It doesn't matter gore o fetsa nako man. Sometimes ba fetsa late. That time spetlele, that time wa gopola ne go sokodisa metsi. And those kids have to wait gore a gona metsi. If a gona metsi now tshwantse ba eme or they have to be admitted because it's risky for them. So you can imagine and there are children that rely their lives more the machines. So it's difficult for those kids. Now those kids can go to school, but at least the schools that side Johannesburg, they offer those kids dikolo, but for Rona Pretoria. And then it's like for rena ga ire berekele because o tla kwa ka 7 o'clock go fitla kwa we still mo lining, you're still waiting for other kids to finish their dialysis. Ngwana o tlo ya sekolong nako ma. You rather ngwana anne because there's a home there. They offer them homes too, but for Amahle couldn't offer a home because ba salomonyane. You can imagine by 2 years so I was waiting for at least a gole so that Lena I can experience a school, I can experience a normal life.
So how long did those trips take? How long till it became like bad?
For Amahle, I can't say it became bad. Remember, we used to suffer. Amahle had multiple operations. It was really difficult for her. But by that time, when she was introduced to these hemodialysis, you won't believe Amahle was a changed child. Like she was the happiest. That time you couldn't even see that time Amahle is sick. These kids you can see very easy for their kids because wababona the way they walk, you can see these kids are sick. But Amahle was, the running child. So I think that hemo one neighboreka for ena because bana ga ba tshwana but that one for Amahle neighboreka.
The last stage one
neighboreka. At some point I don't even remember gore Amahle baya like ba admit you ane. I don't even remember because remember Amahle had, I think all in all her operations were 9. She had 9 operations on her time, 9 because Nasa far from the blood, like her blood was thick.
Okay.
So every time the pipes it's a bit difficult, the clots, so we are blocked, they have to change. At some point at theater, they knew Amahle, when Amahle got to the theater, like, is this Amahle? Amahle, you're here again. Next other time, Amahle, they knew her, So for Amahle's life was difficult. And that child was so strong. Yeah, it was so strong. I remember when I asked Amahle, like when they took her to the theaters, because remember when they take kids to the theaters, a mother has to be there, I used to walk with her to those theaters, the procedures when say, no, now say, take your daughter to sleep so that she can see you as a toga, So Amahle was like, she was used to that. She was like, Mommy, I don't want to sleep. I was like, why don't you want to sleep? Mommy, this thing is painful. I don't want to sleep. I was like, no, Amahle, so what? And then she was so cheeky and stubborn, stubborn. So those theater people, they had to hold her. Like, Amahle, no, she fight to her. I got Baba injected that thing by sang to sleep. Like, Amahle, no, stop fighting this. And Amahle would take time before she could sleep because she and imagine watching your child like that,
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm a mother, and now Lynn self, I've never been to operations. I don't even know how painful it is. I don't even know that pain. But Amahle gave me strength gore ke mo lebelle at that stage and operations after operation. And she was strong. After an operations, don't even think she'll be weak. And after waking up, she'll be calling her mom. Like, mom, I have to be there. Because, I know gore as bomme, bana ba rona, we are their strength, But for Amahle, it was, I don't know if it's my mind or what, but for Amahle, it was like I was her hero. So somewhere, I'm her mom, yes, but I was like her hero.
I could imagine because you were there every single second of her life, of her pain. You are there.
Like I'm there every day, I'm like her friend, Ga fihla ko sepetlele, she used to be narata dilo tse nice, like those princess dresses, She didn't want to wear normal clothes like bana, skhetenyana for ngwana. No, Amahle wanted to be a princess. Like, ha para something. You have to make sure all the attention comes to her. Even the sisters go spetlele, every sister would wait for Amahle the following day so they can see Amahle wa pere. Because she'll go to each and every sister and like, look how beautiful I am today. Look how beautiful. And she was a happy child. Like, Lena, I don't even have that strength. Yeah, Amahle. Mara, I think maybe because she was not used to batho because of her sickness, she was always ko ntlong ra mo kwalla because a khona dlala le bana ba bangwe, but ga fitla ko sepetlele she was different. She made sure gore she owned the hospital. You can imagine. She owned that hospital. Like, Amahle, what are you wearing today? See, my mom bought me new shoes. My mom bought me this dress, and they knew how beautiful Amahle was. Like, she wasn't the prettiest, but her presence, like as her presence when she walks in here, you wouldn't even know gore ngwana ke ngwana or her presence meant it was something
Oh wow,
else.
guys, this is just a proud mother having a moment about her child, and it just breaks my heart because she's normal.
She was so normal. Amahle. And when after dialyzing, when she has to go home, like after she's done with her dialysis now, she was the sister. I'm like, remember, I'm rushing to the transport now. We have to go home. It's late. And then now I'm like, Amahle, now you finished. Let's go home. You wouldn't take Amahle to go home just like that. No, she'd go to each and every sister in the wards and like, I'm going home, bye-bye. I'm going home, bye-bye. And if I take her like that, she'd cry. I remember this sister, she was her favorite, Sister Gloria. Shout out to Sister Gloria.
Shout out.
Sister Gloria used to bake these the cupcakes.
That's why she loved her.
She makes sure those kids, Amahle was like, she was stubborn, remember? Yeah. So sometimes Sister Gloria didn't bake that for her, and she'd be so chic and didn't want to talk to her. Like, Amahle, say hi to Sister Gloria. I'm like, no, mom, she didn't bake those cakes for me today, so I can't say hi today. Yes. And she'll be like, it will ruin her day, And she had this best friend called Sister Tandeka. They were so close. And some point I was like, Amahle, you are like a baby. And then how do you have a best friend of an older sister like that? Like, no, mama, she's my best friend. She loved that sister so much. So you can see like bophelo ba Amahle was in the hospital. Like, she had her wonderful memories go hospital. It was her home there.
Ah, mommy, well done that far, I wish I could give you the whole hour for you to just speak about Amahle. You light up when you speak about your child.
That one wasn't a normal child. That one, the sad thing is her last part days,
That's where I want us to go to that. When does she finally pass?
She passed on a very weird way. Amahle passed on a very weird way. It was a 31st of December last year. Yeah, 31st of December. So you can imagine people are running around, buying new clothes. Ke nako ela ya gore batho we are happy, re tlo khaola ngwaga, That day, Amahle tshwantse a ye sepetlele a yo dialysiwa because it was, there was a 31st. So tshwantse a tsamaye a yo dialysiwa. And now, Amahle that day, o tla a le sharpo. On November, 13 November, we made her birthday. You know, it was little did we know we were just saying goodbye to her. You know, she was so
did a party.
We threw a party. 13 November, we threw a party. She was a normal child. Every kids were there, you know. And now, Amahle 31st, the tshwantse re kgaole ngwaga. And remember, Amahle azanka a kgaola ngwaga gae. Every day, every time, every year, ka nako e tshwantseng re kgaole ngwaga, Amahle is ko sepetlele now. And then now, Amahle ke di 31st, it's in the morning. We have to go to hospital now. I remember me and my boyfriend on that day, you know, that day. And, you know, I thought maybe maybe I can hinti that day, you know, today is the last day for Amahle. But at some point, I neglected that feeling or I felt it, I don't know. I woke up Amahle ko roomong ya gage, and Amahle was different. Amahle was a bubbly child, a happy child. But that day, she was so different, you know. Amahle, wake up. Amahle was just staring at me like this. Amahle, what's wrong? I just bought her a new dress that she told every nurse at the hospital that she's gonna wear, you know. I'm taking out that dress now. And then Amahle, what's wrong? Amahle didn't speak. Amahle wasn't saying anything. She was like standing like this. So I told my boyfriend, no man, something's so wrong ka Amahle. You know, Amahle is not saying anything. And like
it's in the morning.
It's in the morning.
Kadi 31.
Kadi 31. Tshwantse re sepetlele now for so that, and that day tshwantse re kgaolela ngwaga ko boyfriend ya ka ko Rustenburg. It's a happy day. Like I'm waiting. It's the first time I'm gonna spend the 31 le ngwanaka, you know. So my boyfriend is even saying, no, I'm not used to Amahle being like this, because ne tshwantse ebe Amahle ori meeting I'm excited, I'm gonna wear my dress, you know, a happy child eri. So Amahle that time on fela, I'm like, I panic now, what happened? Or ubile le stroke or because she's different her movie. She's just like this, you know. And now I'm panicking. Transporter ke tsamaya ka ngwana ke misa sepetlele, you know. Ke fitlho misa sepetlele re go Charlotte Maqeke, you know, the sisters tsa gage, Sister Thandeka that day, because Sister Thandeka was her best friend, you know. Sister Thandeka that day nalwala, she didn't come to hospital. I think maybe Lena, he had this feeling ya gore Amahle is leaving today, aga ka stlhola ba le rona. But that day na sitting
in the car, is she still just staring at you?
She's still just staring like this. Ga ire selo ga bolele ga le ga re next o no ntse fela o didimetse ga buile motho, you know. Mara ke a bona gore something is not right ka ena. Hai ke fitlhe ko sepetlele di sister like Amahle ba nagana gore ba tla kry that Amahle, they know Amahle is not doing anything ga mo bona. They dialyze her. The first thing Amahle bolelang re mama tla nne le nna. I'm like ke tlo nna le wena mo, okay ke nna le ena mola. Amahle a ha re selo, you know. I think go etse ge motho ile last day ya gage go na le something se se ragalang gore o sa ba mo pela gage man. You know, ke nna ke a shifta mo pela Amahle. Amahle wanted me to be there for her, like ke be mo pela gage mo mpetong, you know. So that time, you know, I don't think like ke nagana gore okay, that time
Skis.
you know, ke nagana like that time maybe ke need like that feeling e ke feelang, you know, because ke batla to spend the New Year's Eve lane. Like I'm so much into that more than her health, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember some sister mbutisa gore like o shapo Amahle. I'm like, okay, o feditse dialyzer. Then I think she's okay, you know. I wanna go home with her, you know. And then but delay, and you know, it's a delay somewhere somehow, you know. Then get Amahle ke mo popuzi. She's no longer saying goodbye to the sisters and stuff, you know. She just wanna be with her mom, you know. So ke mo kukile mola, I'm saying goodbye to the sisters, you know. I'm gonna see you next year and stuff like that. Then I go back to the transport. Lady transport drivers, they just wanna go home because
Get it 31.
yeah, get it 31. They have the braais and stuff like that, you know. Everyone batla ya ipona le gae. So re tse Amahle ra tsamaya ke rena ka transport ra tsamaya le ngwana o mongwe gape ra tsamaya. Just before re fitlha mo Centurion mola, Amahle started vomiting. you know, I'm like, Amahle vomiting like this. Like it's been long since ke bona Amahle on that state, you know. Amahle wa tlhatsa. I'd start to panic now. Driver, ngwana wa tlhatsa, you know. And then now right, maybe ke tlhogo cause now na ropa ke tlhogo. So ko sepetlele na ba mphile like di Panado, maybe bana lo ba le di fever bana ba ke.
Yeah.
Okay, Panado. Amahle now o tlhatsa thata ya nong. Now I see gore a ke sa khono ya lengwano ga ke. You know what, driver? You know chika mkhona mo. I remember wetse ke bona ka re le driver we ra slow ke fologa ka ngwana mo Centurion. Mo garageng ya Centurion mo la I ran like a crazy woman ke kukile ngwana, so you know ke shena ka mogare ga garage and all I asked for was water gore ke mo tshele ka metsi gore a phapame because all she wanted to do was sleep. And ke gopola ke mo manya, like I shouted at her, you know, ke mo shouta gore Amahle, do not sleep, like sebe wa robala, you know, cause she was stubborn, you know. The only thing she said was, Mama, leave me, I want to sleep, you know. Amahle o sebe wa robala, you know, dilo tse yalo. And all she wanted to do was to sleep. It was enough for her that time, you know. Mrs. Petlele, you know, she shouted gore o batlo go robala, not knowing gore ngwana ona she's been through a lot. 9 operations at her age. That last operation was supposed to be her 10th one, you know. But I suppose the 10th one was enough for her because now, imagine go mo fitlisa go sepetlele, now it's no longer her sickness. They say Amahle has a stuck blood in her brain. You know, I'm like, stuck blood in her brain. How did they miss that? You know, because if ngwana ka tlo tlhokofala, she had to gore a tlhokofale because of her kidney, you know. So I stuck blood in her brain, you know. So I was like, you know, ke gopola ke mo tshwere yana. All she did was, Mama, I love you. Like you can imagine a 5-year-old telling a mom that, Mama, I love you. So I think na itse gore wa tsamaya, you know. And some instinct in me told me gore o sebe wa isa ngwana through that operation, you know, because she was a beautiful child. Now they had to open up her head, to open her skull so that ba kgone go stop that blood into her brain. So I can picture my wonderful and beautiful baby, the intelligent one, about through that process. I'm like, how am I gonna deal with it? But you know, I was like, you know what, Amahle, you're gonna fight this. It's the last operation. But something in me was like, you don't even know what this child is going through. Through that operation. And I took a chance because I had 9 operations. So the 10th one was nothing, you know. But for her, it was something because it was enough, you know. It was enough for her. You know, and she went through that and she didn't make it because when she came back now, they told me they couldn't stop that blood, but already they have opened her, you know. You can imagine watching your child being opened ahead just like that, you know. Like she was so beautiful. So I watched her coming back and I blamed myself even today because at some point I was like, if I didn't make her to go through that operation, I was going to blame myself. Like, what if she was going to make it? But now, like, enough. She was open everywhere. Now it's her head. Like, you know, she loved her hair so much. She didn't have a hair. Like, I used to make these styles. Like, I'll cut her and leave this hair and make her these beautiful styles. She didn't want anything with her hair. Now I had her through her skull and open her like that. And now she didn't even make it through that. It haunts me even today. Why did I make her go through that? And she did that. All she could do was, Mama, I love you. I want to sleep. But I could understand that it was her last word to say that. That means it was enough. I made her suffer enough. It was enough, you know.
Mommy. You really did the best that you could. Hey. That's easy.
Yeah, so that was a time, you know, I think they had to switch off the machines. So they told me that Amahle couldn't breathe by herself. Now her machines, she's living by a machine. You know, I remember going home with my mom. It was nearly the 1st of January. You know, everyone
What just
still
happened?
but what happy. I didn't even sing you know, because me and my mom were there go ICU waiting for Amahle, you know. Ka di 1st of January, everyone now we're going home. They're telling us now we have to switch off the machines because if it is a switch off the machines, even Amahle, if aka tsoga, she might have a brain, what, I don't even know. She might even not see. She might not be a normal child, And I thought of Amahle. I'm like, not Amahle. Amahle can't go through that. Not Amahle, We went home. And then I remember that day, Kadi 4 in the evening. I remember I was praying, I used to pray a lot that time. I prayed, Ka fellwa le ke matla. I remember ke botsa Modimo, ke re, Modimo, this time I'm tired. And le ngwana ola utlwile man. I didn't want to let her go. I don't want to lie. I didn't want to let her go. I was like, Modimo, ngwana o utlwile man. Now ke nako ya gore thato ke a gago fela. It wasn't easy to say that. Gore thato ke a gago, because I'm used to a prayer that says kopa o nlwalele ngwana ona. But now because le nna ke a bona, I was like, Modimo, thato ke a gago. It was 6 o'clock in the 6 p.m. Yeah. 5 past, immediately when I said amen, the hospital called and said, Amahle just passed away. Just like that.
You didn't have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Can we please have water? Oh, sis.
Yeah. Amahle.
So that was it.
That was it for Amahle, That was it for Amahle. That was it for Amahle, Everyone that knew her knew what I'm talking about. That it wasn't just a child, you know. It wasn't just a child, That child, I think I gained strength through her because I always thought of myself as being weak. But I think God blessed me with that child for me to be stronger, I gained strength of life through that child, She made me pray every day. Like she could wake me up and say, Mommy, let's pray. And I ask myself, how does this child know how to even pray? When she prays, her prayer of every day, she was like, God, please bless my mom. Please bless my mom, and so that she can be there for me. And then God, I remember when I asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, a doctor. And I said, Amahle, a doctor, why do you want to be a doctor? And said she want to help kids that are like her. So I'm like, how does she know she's different by the age of 5? How does she even know she's different? I want to help kids that are like me.
Yeah.
That was a child that I gave birth to. That was my daughter, That was my daughter.
Man, I'm sure where she is in the heavens, she's so proud of you for speaking about her today.
Her last video, she liked TikTok, eh?
Oh my God.
She liked TikTok. There's this TikTok, this video of her on my TikTok, She was like, hi guys, I'm Amahle. I want to be a doctor. Can you please subscribe to my channel? I'm like, you have a channel. Please subscribe. I was amazed because she never went to school. I was always amazed. These big words, subscribe, and But that's how she was intelligent. Yeah. She was so intelligent. By her last days, the only thing that even today that still bothers my heart, it's Amahle. We gave Amahle everything that made her happy, but I couldn't give her dad, She loved her dad with all of her heart. She loved, even on her last days when she said goodbye, all she said was, Mommy, can you call Daddy for me, But because her dad, that time, he was so obsessed with our relationship of me, she missed those moments of Amahle, Because Amahle, all she wanted to do was see her dad. The hospital had to call her dad because they knew how Amahle loved her dad. She had her dad that my boyfriend, but she Amahle loved her biological father. Even her stepdad, she loved because he called him Papa, and then he called his biological father Daddy. But Daddy was always on her heart. And even though I had anger with her father, her biological father, but I didn't even pour that on her. She still had that wonderful place, but even on her last day, she didn't see her dad. That was one thing she wanted to see, her dad, So
You did your best, mommy. Um, you did your best. There are some things that you can't do on behalf of the other parent, and you never bashed him. You never said, my daughter, your dad is dead, what. You gave her moments with her dad, and you did your best until the very last day. Well
Until the very
done.
last day.
Until the very last day.
Yo.
Man.
I hope wherever she is,
Yes.
she's gonna be proud of me.
She's gonna be proud of you. Klabara mo
Because
TV,
these kind of
mommy.
things, cameras, TV, that's all
Yeah.
she liked. It wasn't my thing. Like it was never my thing. But
Yeah.
Amahle, when she talks to you, will put her phone there. And she wanna be seen. All she wanted to was she wanna be seen. But before everything, I have to shout out this company called
Yeah.
Reach for a Dream.
Reach for a Dream.
There's this company called Reach for a Dream. It's a company in which it gives these kids, like chronic kids, their last wishes. They give these kids like their last wishes. If your child wants something nice that he or she knows that she'll never get, that company comes and they fulfill your daughter's a dream. So they did that also to Amahle. They bought her a tablet and they took her to nice restaurant. That time it was her birthday. They made wonderful. So they do those kind of things to these kids. And
Are they still there?
they're still there in hospitals. They Reach for a Dream.
Reach for a
if your
Dream.
daughter wants to go to Cape Town, whatever your daughter wants to have, that company does that for these kids. And
Wow.
and it means a lot to these
lot.
kids. They bring beautiful memories to these kids. And even Amahle, she had this tablet that she loved with all her heart because of that company. So I want to say shout out.
Reach for a Dream. Mummies, daddies. I think this is another company that you can look out for if you've got a child living with disability or a sickly child. Reach out to them. But otherwise, Mommy, thank you so much for your story, for your
Thank you so
vulnerability.
much. Thank
You
you so
light up when
much.
you speak about your child. You light up when you
There's
speak
nothing.
about
There's
her.
no other something I can say. That child was a little me. I think it was a
man.
little me in a way. Yeah.
We are proud of you and we are wishing you all the best. Shout out to your man.
Shout out to Pimelo Maramanya.
Pamela Maramanyani.
Shout out to
Shout out, Daddy.
I wish all daddies could be like that man.
He stepped up.
Today we don't have a child, but I'm looking forward to be a mom again.
Baby blessings, my darling.
To give that man an opportunity to be a father again.
father.
Because if all men were like him, we wouldn't have children
Daily drama.
daily drama, because of these kind of men. Remember, it's not her biological, but for us, to him, it's her biological daughter. It's her daughter.
Man. Oh, thank you so much, Mommy. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and we wish you a continued healing journey, and a good relationship, marriage with your man. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for staying this far and really appreciate you guys. Just take this moment and click that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next episode. It's Love and Light from myself and Sbo. Bye.
Thank you.